Hey there, YouTube. Um, Sorry, I hope you guys can hear me. When I tried to log on and start this stream a moment ago, oh, it's 2:30 right on the dot. I'm actually here again pretty early today. I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like I've been doing pretty good with that this week. Because I know I got here around 2 o'clock, I think on Sunday. Today is Tuesday. It's all a blur, as usual, but either way, I'm here early today. This is early for me, and that should leave me a good amount of time to try to do this stream and this video. So I hope this video goes okay. Right a few moments ago, I was just about to say, sorry, when I started this stream, I got this message where it said that it was unable to connect at this moment. So that's the first time that I've ever seen anything like that on here before. I've never seen that happen ever before until now. So who knows? And I did just get to the club and they just left, thank gosh. But a few moments ago, when I first got here, there was this suspicious looking van parked to my left. So with that and the message I got, it said something about power on the van. I forget what exactly it said. I was trying not to pay too much attention to it, but it definitely, anytime I see any kind of white van, it sketches me out. At least this one was labeled with like a company, but it said something power. They have power, so I don't like the sounds of that. So between that and the message that I just got that said that the stream wasn't able to connect a minute ago, I'm kind of nervous for this. I hope this goes okay. And then I was just kind of like fumbling with something towards the top of my phone. I actually put a rubber band at the top of my phone, and it's to try to, well, actually it works. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it's to cover the view count. So normally every other time that I've done a stream on here, I can see how many people are watching me live do these videos or these streams. And it drives me nuts. I get very distracted and it makes me nervous and anxious. I just don't like it. It reminds me of webcamming. I don't like getting stressed out about things like that, and numbers drive me nuts and they stress me out in so many various ways, just endlessly, pretty much into infinity and beyond. So I had, in the past, I had tried to cover the top of my phone and cover the view count that way with a Post-it, this one to be specific. But that ended up covering the camera as well. So when I did that, the screen just went pink, like the Post-it color. But eventually I kind of thought of the idea to try putting a rubber band around just that one part that shows the number with the view count. And I had actually thought of that like probably at least a few weeks ago, if not a month ago by now. I just never, like a lot of things, I just hadn't really gotten around to actually trying it or putting it into practice yet until today. So I did remember to try to do it today, and that's what I was just doing a few moments ago. So that, I like that. It does cover other things on my phone, so I'll probably have to take it off for like, it's one of those things where I'm probably gonna have to redo it every time I do a stream. But it also makes me a little anxious because sometimes for me to try to get a gauge on whether or not are streaming properly, or if I have audio, or you know, that kind of thing. I've had a lot of issues with my streams and my phone and just technology, electronics, etc. in the past, you know, internet stuff. So to try to get a gauge on if I'm streaming properly, sometimes I'll try to check the view count, because I figure if there's more than just a few people watching, that would probably be an indication that at least I have audio, at least I must be streaming, because why would other people be watching otherwise? Although, I don't know, my views seem to have gone down quite a bit lately and recently, and then like my stream yesterday had like 0 views almost the entire time, or like 1. So but that one did have audio, and I actually did, I don't think I watched it back yet. I'm still in the process of trying to watch back the one before that, and then I have like a whole bunch pending from before that I still haven't watched. So I didn't actually watch the one that I did yesterday back yet, but I watched the first few minutes long enough to at least check and make sure that it did have audio, and you know, to get a thumbnail and stuff like I normally try to do. I'm just always really anxious about the audio because, I mean, since I got to the club early today, I want to hopefully try to have like let this video be on the longer side, which I love to be able to do. You know, that's my preference almost always. But I just, ever since I did this video or the stream a few weeks ago where it didn't have audio, I mean, that one was like an hour and a half long, and you know, I didn't realize that it didn't have audio until after I had done it and tried to watch some of that one back later on. And when I realized that that one didn't have audio, oh no, I think that's that van again. Or is that a different one? Anyway, sorry. When I realized that that different one didn't have audio, I was obviously very upset. I still posted it. I still left it up, you know, and I put on the caption like, oh, it's a miming video, or this one is for the lip readers out there, or just, you know, whatever. I was still going to keep it up and posted because I spent an hour and a half doing it, technically longer for the time, you know, to prepare to do it, get ready, you know, get things all set up as best as I can for now. It's always a mess and a work in progress, like pretty much everything else for me, but anyway. So I really do hope that this video goes okay today though, because today is actually my Dancerversary, and I put that in the title or the caption, the title for the video yesterday to try to remind myself, and I also did write it down as well. This is like a vegetable wrapper, a canned vegetable thing. So I just take notes on whatever I have on hand usually. So yes, today is Tuesday, Tinka Tuesday. Happy Tinka Tuesday, by the way. Oh, and I see sun. Yay, there's sun out. It's been a while since I've seen the sun. Oh my gosh, the sky is so, wow, the sky looks so different, that side and this side. So towards my left, the sky is like very gray and kind of like dark and gloomy, but then right in front of me, it's like a bright blue on this side towards the right. Anyway, sorry. Tinka Tuesday, and it's January 20th. So on this day, many years ago, I'm not going to say the exact number, or if you know, you know, that kind of thing. I'm sure plenty of people probably do. Many times ago, I auditioned for the first time here at the club that I work at and that I've been working at for quite a while now. So that time, when I auditioned that time, I think what happened, I don't remember, I don't think I got as far as to signing a contract for that time. Because, and I think, there's a floor host that was just waving to me. I didn't know how long has he been standing there. So sorry, that time when I auditioned that time, I think technically I passed the audition, but I specifically remember them telling me that I needed to get my ducks in a row for me to really like be a dancer there. And I mean, honestly, still to this day, that rings true and still applies for me. Honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to really get my ducks. Why do they say that? Where did that saying come from? My ducks. Why is it ducks? But anyway, yeah. If anything, I'm more of a mess now than I was then. but at least now I can climb the pole and do pole tricks. I couldn't back then. So I don't know if they like officially put me on as a dancer back then, but I'm pretty sure I technically passed the audition. All I know is they let me work at the club for the rest of that night and also the following night. But I'm pretty sure I just worked those 2 nights in a row initially. And then after that, I'm pretty sure I just chickened out and didn't come back for like years. And even then, the following years, that process kind of repeated itself a couple of times. So I think like maybe 2 years later, I pretty much did that same thing again. And then same deal the following year. So that kind of happened like at least 3 times, pretty much, until I eventually finally, I wouldn't say that I got my ducks in a row, but I guess I eventually worked up the guts enough to keep dancing and keep trying to stick with it. So that was, you know, the same calendar date, I'm pretty sure. And I can remember back then, you know, back then I didn't have a car and I was in a very bad place. Oh, you know what? I had actually just started my recovery process. Some of my recent videos, pretty recently, just like from the past couple of weeks or so, you know, towards the start of January, I had been doing some videos talking about how I've been in recovery for something that was a big issue for me. It's been 15 years. And I actually, oh, okay, so that gives away how long ago it was. Crap. Wow. Anyway. Oh well, whoopsie. Yeah, I started working here just a couple of weeks after I started doing that. After I started that recovery process. Yeah, and I really remember trying to come into the dancing with the mindset that I wanted to try to have it help me rather than hurt me, and be a positive thing rather than a negative thing, and help my recovery process rather than hinder it, etc., etc. You know, you get the idea probably, but I want to say that is what's happened so far for me with that, for the most part. And definitely in the sense that I haven't, like, technically or officially relapsed back into those behaviors or that behavior that I was really struggling with, in the way that I would consider to be like a relapse for me. There have been some other behaviors that I would consider gray area, but I definitely know for a fact that I haven't actually gone back to that behavior at all. And for 15 years, over 15 years now. And yeah, I've been a dancer for over 15 years. My mind, body, and soul definitely feel the effects of it. How could it not? But it's also interesting timing to me and for me, because last night I did work last night here at the club. You know, I'm pretty sure I did a video before my shift like I normally try to do. And I did work until close. It was, you know, it was a Monday night, so it's not abnormal whatsoever, I would say, for Monday nights to be slow. I mean, Mondays are typically Mondays, even here at the strip club, although sometimes they can actually be surprisingly pretty good. But last night was like scary slow, like not just like regular slow, but like slow on the scary side, you know, where it's like, okay, like this is actually really scary. But I guess one of the maybe upsides, silver linings to that, was that I got to kind of chill out a little bit and focus on some other things rather than just, you know, trying to stretch and go on stage and just actually dance pretty much the whole time I was there. And one of the managers, we have 2 female managers here at this club that I work at. They've both been here a while as well, not as long as I have, but they've been here a while, and they're both awesome. I try to think to myself sometimes, like, which one, if I like maybe like one more than the other. I couldn't say. They're both awesome. It's funny too because there's a blonde and a brunette. In total right now we have 6 managers here. One of them, out of the 6, there's just one that's pretty much always stood out to me. They're actually a guy, and they've been my favorite, you know, for various reasons for a while now. I've probably worked with them the most and done the most of their shifts, like consistently and, you know, consecutively, that kind of thing. They are going to be leaving shortly in a couple of months, which sucks, but I'm not too sure what they're going to do after that, if they're just going to keep it at 5 or maybe like hire or promote another 6th manager to take their place. I'm not too sure, although nobody could take their place, like, you know, but not that I could imagine anyways. But anyway, so of the 6 that are here now, there's 2 females, and yeah, like they're both awesome. So I kind of go back and forth, like which one is like my favorite out of those 2, but I really can't say. Although I don't know, like the one of them that was here last night was going through these boxes of old paperwork, like just old stuff from years and years ago. And there were a lot of photos of dancers from the past that I was able to kind of, you know, glance at a little bit. It was a real trip. There were pictures of older dancers that used to work here that I saw that I had completely forgotten about, and to where, you know, like sometimes when it's been a bit of time like that, or quite a bit of time, you're like, did that really even happen, or were they really even here, or did I just like dream that or imagine that, or am I remembering this correctly? But yeah, it jogged my memory for a lot of people, a lot of dancers that I hadn't thought of or remembered for a long time. And seeing some of their faces in those pictures, it was just like, wow, you know, like, oh yeah, they did really used to work here and be here. And, you know, some of them, there were at least 3 in the bunch that have since passed away. I can actually think of a 4th one that I'm aware of that's passed away. I didn't see her picture in that, you know, paperwork last night, but yeah, I mean, I wasn't particularly close to any of those dancers that have passed away, but I saw them enough for it to just be like kind of weird, like a weird kind of feeling, you know, like it still sucks. And I guess she was going through those papers because they've been out back, like in the storage for so long, and I guess they need to try to make more space back there for like newer stuff, I guess. So I think she has to shred some of those papers after she goes through them. And seeing some of those pictures, I was just like, no, like we can't shred those, you know, like I hate throwing stuff away. I hate letting go of things. I hate, you know, I try to preserve most things as much as possible, unless they're just like bad things or like stuff I don't want or need or like, or what, you know, like most things I try to hold on to and preserve and stuff. But if I were her, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would bring them somewhere else. I never want to spend money on things, but I would rent out a storage space. There actually is a storage unit right next door to the club. I would, if I were her, I would rent out a whole storage room just for that. I would find somewhere else to put those boxes because I just couldn't, like, or even for scrap paper, you know, because I'm always taking notes on whatever I can find, like even napkins, or like this right here is like a paper towel wrapper thing. So yeah. Oh, I mean, those pictures on the papers, the backs of the pictures or the backs of the papers were just blank. So to me, that's all like note paper, like recyclable, or I would use notes that for, if anything, I would just take notes on all of that or draw on it. But I guess they just want to make confetti instead, which I don't like confetti. The idea of it is okay, but it just gets everywhere, and I'm always afraid of little pieces like getting in my eyeballs or like inhaling them. So, oh God, I don't want to jinx it, but oh God, it doesn't seem to be something they do like very much now or lately or recently, thank gosh. But in the past here at the club, there were times where they would like think it was like fun and exciting to like sprinkle confetti around the stage, and like little tiny pieces too. And I'm not joking when I say like little tiny like white dots, to where if you did get one of those in your eye, it was such a small little white speck that it would just probably blend in with your eyeball. And it's like, how would you get it out, or like see to get it, to even be able to see it enough to try to get it out in the first place? Like, that's just the way my brain works. like, things stress me out. So I think of stuff like that. Like, I don't know why so many other people don't seem to, but, or maybe they do, and they just like to just be weird. But anyways, it was such a trip last night, and I thought that was funny timing, you know, like with it being my Dancerversary or my Stripperversary today. And yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come into the club today, you know, because I did work until close last night and the previous night, not the following night, which I've been saying lately. Lately, when I've been trying to say like the day before the other one, I keep saying the following one when really it's the previous one. Anyway, this week I worked Sunday and Monday, so last night and the night before, 10-hour shifts, both times, worked until close. So normally I like to try to do that and then do Tuesday and Wednesday as well, but I wasn't able to do that last week. So, and then for today, it was the weather report, which, you know, I always say the weather reports around here never seem to be very accurate anyways, but I still check them obsessively, like multiple times, day and night, all day and night long, like a lot. So when I checked the weather report for like last night and today, it said that it was going to be very windy. And the windows in my apartment, the wind is pretty much almost always blowing into them the way that they face. So I was like just really scared. I thought it was going to be colder in my apartment last night and today than it actually was. I mean, it was still cold. It was still freezing, you know, because I don't put the heat on. But it it was still thankfully a few degrees over what I thought it was probably going to be. So initially, though, thinking that it was going to be even colder than it has been or was or is, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to come back out today. So, but I'm here, and part of the reason I really pushed myself, well, I had some motivation, I had some reasons to push myself to come out and come into work today. Obviously, one of them being that it is my Dancerversary or my Stripperversary, and then also the manager that was going through those pictures last night, towards the end of the night at the end of the night after I had signed out and I was about to walk out the door, and I saw her sitting like, I don't know, somewhere around that area near the doors and stuff, and I was just like, oh, that was a really interesting time, like seeing some of those pictures and you know, just something like that. And she was like, oh yeah, well, she's like, I'm gonna be doing it again tomorrow. I was like, ding. I was like, okay, sold. Because one of the other employees had, before that, like a moment before that, they were asking me if I was going to be coming in today. And I was like, well, I'm going to try to. I would like to try to. Like, hopefully, you know? And then like a few moments after that, like she had mentioned that she was going to be like going through those pictures and things again tonight. So that stuck in my brain and I was like, okay, there's another reason. So, and then when I got back to my apartment later after that, I made this necklace and I'm pretty pleased with how it came out. The letters don't stay this way because they're all just kind of loose along the chain here. But like the T especially will flip upside down a lot, but whatever, you know, I go upside down in the pole a lot, so that fits, I guess. But I made this, I actually took these letters off of, that's also funny timing to me because just the other day, this wasn't yesterday, but I think it was like the day before. It was definitely very, very recently. I'm pretty sure it was Sunday. So the day before yesterday, these letters came off of this necklace. So I've worn this before in a few other videos. But I mean, this has happened before. So the screw, when it's happened before, I at least found the screw to put it back in and tighten it up. You know, like, because the letters were on this part. So there's a screw on that side, but this screw is just gone now. So I don't know where it went. And yeah, I could get, you know, like another one probably, but I actually really like to make jewelry. Nothing like super fancy or anything, but a lot of the necklaces and I don't wear a lot of jewelry, but usually mostly necklaces I have. When I do wear a necklace, a lot of times the ones that I wear, I've made myself, kind of, not fully, but like basically, yeah. I don't know. I have these like wire cutters and pliers to, you know, like work with little jewelry pieces, and I love making little jewelry things. And oh, and speaking of which, I had mentioned recently that I've been trying to sew a dress for myself. That's still a work in progress. That's probably going to take a while. I've only worked on that like one day or one night so far. I think that was, I don't remember. It wasn't yesterday. I was thinking about maybe working on it yesterday. I actually was carrying it around with me yesterday for some points of the shift, but I didn't get around to working on it yesterday. But yeah, anyways, I intend to keep working on it whenever I can get around to it. But so I sew things by hand. I don't have a sewing machine, nor would I ever want to have one. I took a sewing class in high school, and me on a sewing machine is like just me. Just don't put me on a sewing machine. It stresses me out, okay? They're very chaotic and very like, it's like this like jackhammer to me that's just like scary and like loud, and why is it doing that? Like, make it stop. And then the pedal I can't quite get a feel for, and I just don't like sewing machines, okay? So when I do sew things, I sew things by hand, but I feel like it's actually good for me. I don't love it. That also stresses me out a little bit, but not nearly as much as a sewing machine does. But I feel like it's kind of good for my patience to sew things by hand, because just like, it's just so much different than a sewing machine. Because like with the needle and the thread, it's just like, you know, you have to be so slow and careful and just kind of like threading the needle and the thread through the fabrics. And anyway, so yeah, I sew things by hand when I do sew. And this skirt that I'm wearing, I obviously didn't make her sew the whole thing by a long shot, but I did, but I can't really see it, but I tightened it. I sewed, there's like a square with white stitching. Maybe I can show it better next time, because I was also talking about the other day how when I take this skirt off, recently I had like kind of put it around my bag here. So when I put it around my bag, I put it like almost like I'm putting it around like a mannequin torso to where it's like my bag is like wearing the skirt, and it looks really funny to me. It's like a half like mini body double kind of. I want to show that on camera sometime, or try to, because it just, I get a kick out of it. It cracks me up. Okay, anyway. Oh, 3 o'clock on the dot. Oh gosh, I really hope this, I don't want to jinx it, but I really hope this video goes okay. Oh my God. Okay, so back to more about some of my shift from yesterday. So, oh gosh. So when I first got there, here, since I'm back here now, I knew from the previous night that the stage was filthy, as it usually is. And, you know, I'm not the kind of person to ask other people or employees to clean the stage. If I don't like the way that it is and I think it's dirty, I bring my Swiffer and I clean it myself. So, you know, I got to the club, I did my video, then I went into the club, and you know, many other parts of the process for me to try to do what I gotta do. So I'm at my locker upstairs. That takes me a while to, you know, all the winter stuff and the just everything. So after I get my stuff situated by my locker and whatnot, because my locker is upstairs, there's also like the balcony area that overlooks the stage and the rest of the club up there. So I went over to that balcony area to kind of like scan the room, you know, survey and just see what was going on down there. Not a whole lot, apparently. Surprise, surprise. But what I did notice right away was a dancer on, not on the main stage, but on one of the other smaller stages that we have in the far corner, the far right-hand corner. They call it the satellite stage. So she's on there. This is a very small stage. It's pretty much for one person. It's just like this small square. Very different than the main stage, a lot smaller. Sometimes, every now and then, more so like on weekend nights, which I don't really work as much anymore, or hardly ever. Sometimes I've seen 2 dancers on that smaller satellite stage. I've actually done a double with another dancer before in the past, but those were different, you know, better times when I was slightly less stressed out than I am now. I don't think I would try to do that kind of thing these days. Wow, now the sky is just completely like gray, like 100%, just a blank gray slate, and it's snowing, so yay. I don't think snow was in the forecast for today, but that's, you know, this happens here. Anyway, so yeah, usually, I mean, that stage, especially on the slower nights, like a Monday, that smaller stage rarely gets used anyways. But if it is being used, it's almost always by one dancer at a time. So there's one dancer up there, you know, by herself, and she has like these ear muff type headphones on, not like little earbuds, but like the kind of headphones that are like big, almost like earmuffs. So let me demonstrate, just because I love earmuffs so much. Yay. Oh, I just love these so much. I hate to say it, I don't know if I want to be buried when I die or what I want to happen to me. When I was a small child, I wanted to be beheaded and have my head shot out of a cannon, like over the ocean or something. And then I don't know what I wanted to have happen with the rest of my anatomy. With my lower half. I literally like had these thoughts as a child, like, what if that did happen, except with my head being shot out of the cannon, I was wearing the earmuffs still? But what I was gonna say is, so I don't know what I want to have happen to me. I freak myself out thinking about what other people want to have happen to me. I'm not gonna go there right now. That's bad. If I were to be buried, I think I'd want my earmuffs on. I don't care about the rest of the outfit that much. Maybe if I finish my new dress, the one that I'm trying to sew by hand. But the earmuffs come first. Are you allowed to be buried naked? With like an open casket? Has anybody in the history of the world ever been buried in stripper heels? Like 8-inch stripper heels, 9-inch? I usually wear 7s these days, especially. Stripper heels, earmuffs only. Just buck-ass naked, except for stripper heels. I'm not sure about the heel height just yet, but the heels and the earmuffs. Okay, well, I'll change the subject. I'm sorry, I apologize. What was my point before? So she was wearing like headphones, this other dancer from yesterday when I first got there. She was wearing earmuff headphones. So not discreet, you know, is my point. Like, because if you're going to be listening to your own music in the club, I mean, this was more towards the day shift. So, you know, and this kind of dancer, like, I was actually surprised to see her there that early. I thought she was more of a night shift kind of dancer usually, but I mean, how would I know really? But she seems like the type that would probably listen to like rap and hip hop, and that seems to be her aesthetic and her style. So the music that was playing in the club was more of like, you know, the slower kind of like, I don't want to say boring kind of day shift music, but just not like rap or hip hop, you know, like more on the day side, like easy listening oldies, kind of a soft rock, whatever you'd call it. So, but you know, like if you're gonna listen to your own music, like earbuds are one thing, but it's kind of funny to me. It just looks funny to have it be so obvious to where you're just like, fuck this, like put on my, and that seems to totally be her vibe and her personality, where she's just like a baddie, like she's gonna do what she wants to do pretty much. So that was a fun visual for me to just, there's like no one else at all pretty much down there in the entire club. There's like maybe 1 or 2 guys by the bar, and then the bartender, and then there's her over there. And she's just stretching, and she looked good too. I mean, I was like, oh, you know, like, okay. I was like, I was looking, I was watching, I was like, yeah, I was like, and I was laughing too, because it was like, she looked really hot and really sexy, but also it was just a funny sight to see to me. I actually, at one point, years and years ago, when one of the DJs, well, the DJs there would piss me off a lot that I used to work with years ago. They're not here anymore and haven't been for a while. But one of them especially would piss me off, and usually I would like the music they would play, but every now and then I feel like they would just try to mess with me. And if I didn't like the music they were playing, there was a time where I brought in my iPod and put in like little headphone type earbuds to listen to my own music. But, you know, again, those were little earbud type headphones, so it was, I wanted to think it was a little more discreet. Although I did have like the iPod, these weren't wireless headphones. They had the wire coming down with the iPod that I had like tucked into some kind of bra or other like thing that I was wearing, probably. But I remember immediately, like I can never really get away with stuff, almost never. So when I did that, pretty much immediately, like I went on stage for like a few minutes like that, and then right after that, whoever was manager at the time came over to me and they were like, no. So, yeah. Anyway, so she's over there. Then I go down the stairs after, you know, watching that for a little while. So I go back downstairs to the main floor of the club. I go on stage with my Swiffer to clean the this is my last Swiffer sheet. So when I first started doing the Swiffer thing to clean the stage at the club, pretty recently, maybe a couple months ago, I had 2 of these left, this being one of them. So the first one is now gone forever, I guess. I was trying to just reuse that one and wash it and make it last forever, but it didn't, because one of the times after I washed it and left it out to dry, I guess, I don't know, it's just not there anymore, or I just don't know where it went. So now I'm down to my last Swiffer pad. So this one I, washed and dried, washed again, and then to let it dry, I specifically brought it out to my car here to keep it with me forever and ever, right here. Anyway, there's really no point in Swiffering the stage. I've realized more and more though that I don't even think what's mainly like the dirtiness on the stage is like that much other stuff. I think it's what I'm realizing more and more, the type of material that the stage is. It's hard to explain, but I feel like what looks like dirt on my hands after I've been putting my hands down on the stage floor, I think it's actually little bits of the stage itself. The stage is like black, and it's like a matte black. I don't think it's really coated on top. It's not shiny by any means. It's not like laminated or lacquered. It's a very kind of dusty, it's worn. I think I've posted some pictures of parts of it. I mean, there's cracks in it, different places, and weird bumpy spots where they've tried to glue it back together, and especially by the pole. It's seen better days, I'd want to think. I actually remember years and years ago, this building has been different clubs throughout the years apparently, but when I went on their website a long time ago, when it was a different club back then, I think at one point the stage floor was actually more like a gymnasium kind of floor, where it's like that kind of tannish like type of material, and it's like shiny and lacquered, like a gymnasium, which is kind of hard to picture. It was never like that for the time that I've been here. Since I've been here, it's been how it is now, and gradually gotten like more worn and stuff. But yeah, I don't know if it's disintegrating, but like I think what I'm seeing on my hands a lot of times is just actually little bits of the stage itself. And it drives me nuts. I mean, I see so many other dancers putting their like complete undercarriage bottom area like flat on it, like rubbing around, just like most other dancers don't seem to give a like, they're one with that stage floor and they're putting all of themselves on it, and like, I'll do splits, but when I do splits, I'll go down as far as I can, but I'll leave some space. There's a part that's not gonna fully come in contact. And especially when I do a middle split, like for the more traditional kind of split where one leg is in front of the other, technically I can go down all the way to the floor, but I purposely don't allow that to happen fully because I don't want to. And then especially when I do a middle split with one leg out to each side, I will put my hands under my legs or like under my thighs so that my thighs are resting on the tops of my hands and my wrists, to kind of give a little bit of space there between myself and the floor, or try to as best I can. Anyway, but you know what, this building does seem to have a hell of a lot of history, and that stage and the pole especially, they've seen a lot of different dancers throughout the years. So, and I've been here for some years now, so I'm just like kind of thinking now, like, you know, those little bits of the stage get places, I'm sure. Like, I've seen them land on my face before, like later when I look in the mirror, because anytime I go to like have a drink or like, you know, put something in my mouth, like eat something, you know, if I'm gonna consume anything or put lip balm on or whatever, I'll always try to check my face and my mouth first to make sure there's no dust and no little bits of things like on my lips, or I don't want to eat those little pieces of the stage too. But I'm sure it's happened at some point, you know, like dust and everything from other parts of the world just gets into, you know, it's just all one big happy world. But you know what? It's like, okay, so even if little bits of the stage have gotten into me, I'm like one with the stage then. I am the stage now. The stage is a part of me and I'm a part of it, and the stage is inside me. Or it has been. I'm sure probably. I'm sorry, YouTube. Please don't be mad at me. So back to yesterday. I'm swiffering the floor. So we have that one dancer over off in the satellite stage with her big ass earmuff headphones, doing her own thing. Then there's me up there with my Swiffer, and the amount of rubbing alcohol it takes to, it's the main stage that I was trying to clean, or yeah, I was Swiffering. That's a big stage. The smaller stage where the earmuff headphone dancer was, that's small. The main stage is pretty big here. So for me to try to Swiffer that entire main stage floor takes a lot of rubbing alcohol. I don't go through like a whole bottle of it, but it takes a lot of rubbing alcohol to where it's going to make a significant dent in the amount of rubbing alcohol that was in the bottle to start with. And the fumes kind of get to me. So, and yeah, I don't have heat on in my apartment. My body is used to being in very cold temperatures. So then for me to come out and come into the club, I'm wearing 2 wigs. I'm wearing many layers typically, not a jacket, but like it pretty much over 10 other layers to make up for not wearing a jacket. So, I have a lot on, and my body's used to being in a very cold environment, like freezing. And then I come into the club and all of a sudden it's like over 70. So my apartment's like lower 50s. The club is lower 70s. So I come into the club with all this stuff on, and I get very hot very quickly, especially on the main stage. And then there's all these rubbing alcohol fumes, like making me feel a bit woozy up there. And in order to try to get the rubbing alcohol to spread over that huge amount of stage area, I'm really having to like put in some elbow grease. Anyway, I think most of the other times that I've Swiffered the stage floor in the past, I was wearing my boots or sneakers or like street shoes. I have done it in heels before, I'm pretty sure, but for whatever reason, I haven't actually slipped and fallen on the stage while I was Swiffering it before, but I did yesterday. So I was Swiffering it with my heels on, and I slipped and fell while I was doing that. So then I get up, and one of like the 2 or 3 guys in the club by the bar, I look over and he saw, so I salute him. So that was fun. I don't think I got that hurt when I fell. I mean, I don't know. I was pretty out of it from the alcohol fumes, and just it was so hot. My face was already bright red to begin with from the whole scenario, but then it was probably more red after I fell and making more of an ass of myself. I mean, I did fall down the stairs a couple weeks ago. Oh, actually, when I fell down the stairs, recently. It was 2 weeks ago to the day. It was it was two Tuesday nights ago. That's when I fell down the stairs. And when that happened, I hurt my right ankle a bit. And when I fell on the stage yesterday, Swiffering it, my right ankle did something. It's okay for the most part, I want to think, but I blame it on that ankle because that's the one that made me fall on the stage when I was cleaning it yesterday. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so then this actually happened. So that had happened, but this next part that I'm about to say, this part actually happened before I had started Swiffering the stage, but it was still added to the kind of funny vibe that I was getting. The manager on shift, who for a while, up until very recently, he was like the head manager here. And I mean, he's still one of the higher ups. Like, I'm pretty sure out of all the managers, he's been here the longest. He's been here a long time, longer than me. I'm pretty sure. So he's been here a while. And he's very tall. He has like a very straight face and kind of like a serious, like strict sounding voice and demeanor. He is nice. And he can be kind of funny too, but especially if you don't know him, like he has like that presence and that demeanor where he's like a kind of I don't know if intimidating is the word, but I'm a scaredy cat, so I get intimidated by him. I get intimidated by anybody or anything pretty much, but yeah, anyway, so he's one of the more serious kind of vibe kind of managers there, but he has okayed me to Swiffer the floor, which is awesome. But so right as I was bringing my Swiffer over to the stage area to start that process, when I was about to go up and start to Swiffer it, he comes walking by with this customer that I'm assuming was probably a newer customer, because he's walking them through the club, like towards the bar area and towards the stage, and it seemed like he was giving them a tour, like talking to them. It seemed like he was telling them about the club and like, oh, like over here we have this and over here we have that and over here we have the bar and here's the stage, and then there's me standing at the stage with my Swiffer, like right as this is happening or starting to happen. So I'm just like and here we have Tinka with her Swiffer. They just walked right on by, didn't give me a second glance or even a first glance. I'm pretty sure like they didn't even seem to notice. So that was good actually. So, and yeah, luckily but I did pause too. I was like, okay, I was about to run onto the stage to start Swiffering it, but I paused right as I was about to do it is when they started to walk by, like through the front door and start that tour process or whatever. So I paused and I didn't just, I wanted to like not do that or start to do that right as this new customer is coming through with the manager. So I just held off for a moment, tried to be patient. And luckily, yeah, that guy pretty much just went straight to the bar and faced the other way, not towards me, like was facing the bar, facing the bartender, and facing like the TV that we have by the bar over there, which all faces, away from the stage pretty much. So he wasn't looking over at me. He wasn't even, I don't think he saw me one time, to be honest. So, didn't seem like he did anyways. So yeah, he was doing his thing and I presumed to start to do my thing with the Swiffer, and that was a process. And then eventually I slipped and fell on the stage floor while doing that, but I don't think he saw that. One of the other guys did, and then I saluted that guy, and yeah, it was a pretty good time. It was an interesting start. It was an interesting start to the shift. And the rest of the shift was pretty interesting too. It was very slow and boring, but, well, no, it wasn't boring. It could have been boring. On the surface, it looked like it was boring, but for me, that wasn't boring. I was having a blast the whole time, and it went by very fast too. Especially with looking at the pictures. The pictures from before. Oh yeah, and then for a good bit of the rest of that shift. I'm going on 4 hours of sleep right now, by the way. And I didn't really feel it until just now. I was like, Sunday night coming into Monday shift or Sunday shift. Between my Sunday shift and my Monday shift, I'm pretty sure I had gotten about 7 hours of sleep, which for me, in between my shifts, that is phenomenal. I'm usually lucky to get, like, usually 6 is a lot for me. 4 or 5 is probably the average. 4 is not good, but it happens. Happened earlier today or last night or whatever, earlier this morning. 6 is a lot for me. 7 between shifts is like, oh, wow. But, so yeah, I got 7 pretty much, between Sunday and Monday shifts. But then between Monday and now, I got 4, not even 4. It was actually less than 4. But I just, I knew I had some errands to run today, or, well, I knew that I wanted to try to push myself to try to do them today while I could. Because yeah, I did have some reasons to try to come into the club today, and I really wanted to do a video today for various reasons that I've mentioned. And also, the weather report, which I never really trust, but I still check it a lot. It says that we're supposed to get, like, next week, towards the end of this week and going into next week, it says that the temperature is supposed to be like -7, negative, and like days in a row, nights in a row, like negative, in the negative temperatures below 0. So we have had that happen already this round of winter, but that wasn't super recently. That was probably, I don't know, a few weeks or maybe a month ago. And that was like 1 or 2 nights of like 0 or -1. But this is like multiple nights of like -3, negative this, -7, I don't know. But it also said that we were supposed to get a really windy night last night, and we didn't. And I actually I was thinking that it was going to be, but I really noticed that we didn't, because when I got back to my apartment later, I got out of my car like I normally would and normally do. But so this is, well after midnight. This is after the 10-hour shift. This is after I get back to my apartment later on, the dead of night, early morning hours. And so it's dark out. And I get out of the car. On the passenger side, I have my big ass heavy backpack. I also have a second backpack that's the same size and style, basically the same thing as the one that I showed earlier. I'll show it again for reference. It's pretty heavy. So, I have another one of those, but in red. And then I have like bags of groceries and water bottles, and I have a lot of heavy stuff. So me going from my car to my apartment both ways, both when I'm going from my apartment to my car and also later on when I'm going from my car back to my apartment, my arms are full of stuff, big heavy bags, like many of them. So I get out of my car, I put my main black backpack on my back, and then I get all my other bags in both of my arms. Shut the door, lock the car. Actually, no, technically what I noticed across the way over in my neighbor's yard, I noticed what I noticed before I shut the door or locked it, but whatever. So, but I had all my bags, like, on my back and in my arms, and I was about to shut and lock the door. So, but the bags are so heavy and there's so many of them that it's a process for me just to get all of that stuff in my arms, like positioned and ready to be trekked up the hill and up the 2 flights of stairs that I have to get to my apartment door. That in itself it's a process. It takes me a lot of effort and time, it feels like, to do that. So I have all this stuff like geared up on me and I'm about ready to shut the door and lock it and all of that. And I look up and I look across the across the way. I look over just straight ahead pretty much towards my neighbors, the building across from the building that I'm in, and it looked like there was like this shadowy figure just standing there. Oh, it's 3:30 on the dot. Just standing there in like a trench coat or like a long jacket kind of style coat, with like a cigarette in their hand. But it looked like they were just standing dead ass still, just like standing and staring. And I was like, oh my gosh, is that a gang stalker? Or like what? It really looked like a person standing there at first. I mean, I was scared, and to where for a moment I was just I froze and I was just standing still. So it felt like they were just standing there standing still, and I was just standing there standing still with my car door still open, because I was like afraid to move or make a sound at first. But then I was just laughing because I was like, no, that can't actually be a person. There's no way, that's too awkward and too weird. Because they were completely still, because it wasn't actually a person, obviously. Like it was a shadow. It was a shadow from the vehicle that it looked like they were standing right near their vehicle, but it was actually a shadow from the vehicle. But I really, for a moment, the shadow shape looked so much like a person that, like, I knew it probably wasn't, but I still was scared enough to just not make a sound at first. But then it was just kind of too weird to me, so I started to laugh, you know, like I normally would when I'm stressed out, pretty much. So I wasn't laughing like super loud, but I was like laughing. And then I like kind of quietly shut the door and locked it. But I don't know, I had to go make sure, I had to go check it out. So, because for me to walk up the hill and to the main door to the building that I'm in, I would have to walk like, you know, some steps, some distance to where, I don't know, they were maybe like 10 to 20 yards or so across the street. This was across the street. So anyway, I knew they would see me. It was too awkward. I just had to go check. I just had to make sure it wasn't actually a person, because they were so still, and I was like, nobody can just stand that still. It's too creepy. This is like a scary movie. So I knew enough probably in the back of my mind that to feel okay to actually go check it out. But I did. So I walked to the end of the driveway with all my stuff, and I just call out over there. I'm like, is there someone standing there? Yeah. So I said that. I was like, is there someone standing there? No answer. Of course. So then I was like, okay. So I felt okay enough to go continue on a bit further and walk across the street into their driveway, just to really make sure. And yeah, it was a shadow of their car. But I've never seen, I mean, it was a truck. It wasn't just a car. It was like a bigger truck. So I'm pretty sure that's why the shadow was the size and shape that it was, to where it looked large enough to maybe be a person's shadow. But I mean, yeah, their car is pretty much always parked there in that same spot, I'm pretty sure. And I've never noticed that kind of shadow before. So I don't know why this time it looked like that. If it was maybe the moon or something. I didn't really think to check. I did see the North Star, I'm pretty sure. But I don't remember checking for the moon or anything like that. Or I'm not sure why the shadow would have been there this time and I never would have seen or noticed that before. But anyway, so I walked into their driveway, really made sure. But it was so weird to me that I was like, I have to take a picture. So I went back to my car, unlocked it again, put all of my stuff back down. Granted, like I was just saying, it's a process for me to pick this stuff up, put it back down, pick it back up again. There's a lot of heavy stuff here. So, but I just had to take a picture. It was too weird. It was too just weird and funny to me. So I did, you know, put all my stuff back down, get out my phone, which that in and of itself is a difficult thing for me to do. This bag is so full of crap and so heavy that for me to even like find my phone in there, put my phone back in there, take it out, same with anything else that's in there, it's all, I have to dig through it. It's like it's all a process, okay? It's difficult for me. But yeah, so I got my phone, I took some pictures, and then I was thinking of maybe posting them on here, but I don't know, that might not be the best idea to have like my neighbors. That's more location specific. I don't know. That's probably not the smartest thing to post a picture of the building across from where I am. But oh God, I want to so bad, honestly though, like, because I know that otherwise, like, the pictures are just going to get lost in my phone. I actually posted these random stupid pictures last night from like Christmas theme. Like I was wearing like a Christmas kind of outfit where I had made a top out of a velvet like red gifting ribbon. That was from, I don't even know when that was from. I should have checked the picture label. I know it was from a long time ago. It was probably like 2000, I'm guessing 2018, 19. It was years ago. But I posted those pictures last night kind of just randomly, just because my phone showed them to me randomly. My phone does that sometimes where it just every now and then will show me like memories, like a reel of all these random old pictures. So every now and then I'll kind of like scroll through some of them and just like try to star or mark or favorite some of them, but I never really do anything with them after because I just forget or they get lost again in my phone in the abyss, you know. So yeah, so that's why I posted those random Christmas ribbon top type photos last night. And if I don't, which I probably won't, post my neighbor's driveway pictures of the shadow, I probably won't post that, but me not posting them, those pictures will just be lost in the abyss as well. So, oh, I want to post them so bad. Oh God. And I don't know why it looked like the shadow was smoking a cigarette, but it did. But it's like people don't smoke cigarettes without moving anything. The cigarette moves, they move. Everything was still. I mean, I knew, but I didn't. You know what I mean? It really looked like, it looked scary, okay? So anyway, it looked very strange. Oh. Anyway, back to my shift from yesterday. Yeah, I did feel as though I got good stage dancing. I'm so tired now. Oh. Yeah, I did though. My favorite manager was there, so I pretty much almost always really like when they do the music and the lights for the stage. A lot of times it'll typically tend to kind of activate this style of dancing that I'm really only able to access or get into certain times with the right kind of music, or I can't always put my finger, or I can hardly ever really put my finger on what it is exactly or the combination of things that'll do it. But once I'm in that zone and in that mode, it's a really cool place to be. And yeah, it's still a mystery to me as to how much I'm able to access that on my own. Or a lot of the music that plays here at the club is playlist. So a lot of the playlists are just like pretty much the same songs in the same order playing over and over again. So with that in mind, a lot of times, no, you know what? A lot of times what it is, it's song specific and it's really the music. It's the lights too, but it's the music probably first and foremost. if it's the right song for me, if it's a song that I really love and feel a lot and love and my body likes to dance and move to it, that'll do it, you know. But yeah, especially in the earlier hours or like the earlier kind of like day shift type of times here, there's so many different playlists. So a lot of times it's not even just the playlist, it'll be like it'll still be playlists, but other types of playlists where it's the older music on the computer. Most of my favorite playlists, it seems like, are being played off of an iPad where they're from like playlists on YouTube. Most of those seem to really be the ones that like get me going and get me dancing, like how I like to dance. Whereas for a lot of the slower times in the day shifts and a lot of the other managers, a lot of their playlist will be off of a separate computer where it's one of the older contraptions that they have here, older music, older still playlists, but not YouTube playlists, like just computer, like playlists on the computer, you know. So but yeah, I mean, I can still, with the right song, you can still get the right song for me in those other playlists. Like if it's a good song is a good song to me. So, but especially with the playlist like that I really like though the most, it'll be like a certain structure of how those songs are played, you know, like, anyway. So I can get into that zone different ways, different times. A lot of it is, yeah, kind of a mystery to me. And because sometimes it happens more naturally than others, and other times I kind of have to push myself more to get into that zone or stay into it, even when the songs that are being played aren't all like my favorites or really don't always do the job to get me going like kind of naturally. Because yeah, sometimes you'll have a really good song that'll do it, but then it'll be followed by a totally boring song that just kills the vibe. Or anyway, I mean, there's so many endless combinations of things. Even with them playing a lot of the same stuff over and over, there's still a lot of different combinations of factors that can play into this kind of thing for me. So anyway, but yeah, last night I felt like I was getting some good dancing in. I did a bit of pole, but I was doing a lot of fast, like quick steps, like all around the stage. Like footwork and just fast, you know. I get really anxious though when I do that. And my favorite manager was there, and I think he had been the one to like start things off in the DJ booth. But then for a lot of the rest of the shift, it was one of the floor hosts. So whenever it's somebody else in the DJ booth that I'm not as familiar with, I always try to be like extra cautious, like, you know, I don't know what they're going to do in there at any given time. And I've noticed a lot of other DJs, employees, etc. in the past. Luckily, I don't want to jinx it, but this particular one I don't think did this, which was good. But other people in the past, I've noticed when they're in the DJ booth, will all of a sudden change the lights without warning in the middle of a song, or when a dancer is in the middle of doing like a difficult kind of move or pole trick. Most of the dancers, that might not be as much of an issue or matter as much, because a lot of dancers here at this club don't go on the pole, and especially a lot of them I don't think any of them really dance the way that I do, in the sense of this certain style, this certain zone, this certain mode that I get into sometimes when I'm dancing around the whole stage really, really quickly, very fast. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else do that here. I wonder if, I'm sure somebody at some point in the history of this place has, but I've never seen it. So for me especially, if I'm in the middle of that kind of dancing and the lights in the middle of that just randomly completely change in a split second, when I'm doing something dangerous, something where I could, you know, fall and get hurt, that I'm always scared about that. I'm always like kind of holding my breath, hoping that doesn't happen. But it has happened for me. I mean, it's happened to me here before in the sense that the lights have changed without warning when I'm on stage. I always try to be mindful of it and try to keep an eye on it to where it doesn't happen at the wrong time, but it so easily could. And anytime I take that risk and take that chance to let myself get into that zone when I'm kind of just freeing myself up a bit to dance fast and to really get into it, you know, take that chance, take that risk. I'm always like, oh, biatch, don't be doing this now. You know, I'm always telling myself in my head, I'm like, don't do that. Like, but it's, you know, it's what I live for. It's like my favorite thing to do. It makes me so happy and I feel so alive, and almost everything else in the world pretty much just sucks. It's like, you know, but I love being able to get into that zone, and yeah, it's like pretty much my favorite thing ever. So it's tough to resist that, but they know that here, you know, like anyone that sees me up there doing that, they know that that can't, once I'm getting into there, they know that I want to just go for it, and those lights are pretty intense. So there's so many different buttons you can, with one push of a button, it can completely change everything on stage as far as the lights. Even with the music, I've had, in the middle of me dancing around, sometimes pretty quickly too, the song, they'll just change the song. It'll be in the middle of a song and they'll just switch it to a different playlist or a different song. But the lights are a little different for me. I'm actually usually more worried about the lights with that kind of thing. With the music, I feel the music so much. It's almost like my body naturally responds to that when that happens with the music. The lights, not so much. The lights are their own crazy thing. But the music, I can feel the vibration through the speakers. Even when it's a song that I don't really know or that I'm not that familiar with, it's like I feel the vibration of the sound waves. I feel that music so much that when that's happened, when they've randomly switched the music or switched a song in the middle of whatever, my body just responds to it. It's just like, it automatically just moves right with the music, like to the beat, to the song, everything. Just like, it's hard to describe, but it's an amazing feeling. So every time that happens, I'm just like, damn, I'm a dancer, you know, like I'm a dancer. And it freaks me out that they do that, but for me to have that feeling for myself, I do like that feeling in that regard, you know. But it really freaks me out too. There's so many buttons in that DJ booth. That's something I should try to take a picture of. Be like, could anyone out there actually understand this or figure this out? I don't know how anybody does or could, or my favorite manager did try to show me a few things in there one time or a few times a while ago, and there's one or two things that I picked up on and understood and still to this day remember how to do, but out of all the buttons and all the stuff that you can do in that DJ booth, there's like one or two little tiny things that I was able to understand and that I can do now, like by myself in there. But there's like endless contraptions and buttons, and just, it freaks me out. My brain doesn't work. I think that's a thing that I have almost on this paper towel paper. Well, I think the only thing left on this page is that in my video yesterday, I was talking about past lives, and I talked a little bit about Bonnie and Clyde, or like the story of them, supposedly, or whatever, and how, you know, like, I don't think it's necessarily a good thing to like romanticize or glamorize, you know, that story or the bad things that they did, because a lot of parts of that story are not good, you know, like they're said to have done some pretty bad things to people, which is, yeah, I don't think that's cool or something to condone or glamorize, romanticize, etc. I do, however, think that the story is interesting, and other aspects of that story and what could have possibly fed into them resorting to those bad things that they did or are said to have done. I do find, you know, parts of that interesting, and how, you know, Bonnie is said to have really liked photography and poetry, and those things seem to be a large part of what made their story so well known and widespread, kind of like legendary, you know, still to this day. And in some of the videos that I've seen about that kind of thing here on YouTube, I saw a video or two where somebody was visiting their grave sites and was showing how in one of Bonnie's poems, she mentions wanting to be buried next to Clyde when they had died, because after all of the crazy stuff that they had gotten into, to where they kind of just saw a point of no return, she kind of seemed to realize that the end for them, they were probably going to be killed by the law, which they were. So in one of her poems, she talks about that. I think it's called The Trail's End. And she talks about them being buried side by side after they die together. And in one of the videos that I saw on YouTube where they had visited their grave sites, it shows that originally Bonnie's been buried in a separate cemetery than Clyde, you know, next to her mother, that was her mother's wishes, because her mother lived longer than she did after her and Clyde, you know, got taken down by the law like they thought they were going to, or like she thought they were going to. So I guess still to this day, Bonnie is buried in one cemetery with her mom, and Clyde is buried in a separate cemetery, which, yeah, Bonnie said in her poem she wanted them to be buried together. But I guess for whatever reason, there's a space left next to Clyde's burial plot in case whatever decides to eventually someday move Bonnie over next to Clyde, like she had wanted to be. And her casket or whatever has already been moved once before, apparently, from one cemetery to another to where her mom is. I don't know, but I think about past lives a lot, and how with the internet being able to research past historical figures and past events, if there was such a thing as past lives, it's kind of like our current selves could maybe like use the internet to research our past lives and our past selves to maybe try to help us better understand and accept what happened to us in the past, or that kind of thing. So sometimes I wonder, like, I don't know, like Bonnie was so into photography, I'm so into photography. Bonnie was so into poetry, I'm so into poetry. I could have probably been Bonnie Parker in a past life. I've joked before that maybe I was Ernest Shackleton in a past life, because I go on weird kicks with stuff, especially on YouTube. So pretty recently I was watching a lot of videos about Ernest Shackleton and his expedition down in Antarctica in the early 1900s. That was actually around the time, almost the same time frame, because Ernest Shackleton, his expedition in Antarctica, that was, I think, early 1900s, 1916 or so, I'm pretty sure. And Bonnie and Clyde's craziness, I think, mostly went on in like the 1930s. Well, early 1930s. So almost the same time frame. But yeah, I've joked before about maybe being Ernest Shackleton, or like being a guy in my past life, because I really struggled being a female, and like especially with my periods, and just I've never been married or had kids. I am kind of a girly girl in some ways, but I'm also very, like, it's hard to explain. I just like to think about different possibilities when it comes to this kind of stuff, because some people that believe in past lives or that talk about that kind of thing go as far as to acknowledge or mention the possibility of even being other genders or other nationalities, and not just like within your own family line kind of thing, but like a completely different person, like a completely different, which probably is not very likely or possible, like realistically, but I do think it's fun to think about and whatever. So if I was, maybe if I wasn't Ernest Shackleton, if I was Bonnie Parker instead in a past life, maybe in this, I like need to try to see to it, like just live long enough and see during this lifetime now that maybe my old self as Bonnie will eventually be moved over to Clyde. And maybe that's why I've never been married or had kids, or why I've been single so long. Maybe like Clyde was, I mean, I don't really like to think about that, because again, I don't condone the bad things that he did. Like, oh, look, he killed people, that was bad. But there are wars all over the world that are being fought for, some people say, different reasons. I don't understand any of it. Like, but you know, like some people say that the reason this war is being fought is for like not the right reasons, or, you know, those people shouldn't have been killed in this war because they were innocent civilians and they shouldn't be killed. You know what I mean? Like, you can debate that kind of thing in many different ways, I feel like, the sanctity of life or the concept of that. But so yeah, either way, I wouldn't like ever want to condone like people hurting each other or violence. I really am very sensitive. I don't like that, like that kind of stuff really affects me and freaks me out to think about. But, and I'm a very like peace and loving kind of person, I like to think, but even so, I also try to be open-minded and empathetic to other people and other possibilities and other points of view. And yeah, it's like, well, I've been single for so long, pretty much since I've been a dancer, and even before that. So maybe that's part of why. Maybe my true love was Clyde a long, long time ago. And now in this life, in this body, I'm just like waiting to see my old self finally be moved over next to him. That's so stupid. And just, probably pretty far-fetched, but whatever. I mean, it's something to talk about. I have to go sign into the club. I got here at 2:30 and it's almost 4. Holy, oh, I can't see the timestamp. I covered with the rubber band the top of this video screen, so I can't see the viewer count, but I also can't see the timestamp. And I still have more papers. I think that was the end of this one, but I have more. So, all right, crap. I've been doing this a lot lately, but you guys at least get to look at my cool purple thing in the back here. All right. BRB. Oh, it's not snowing. It's not snowing anymore. Oh, that's nice. Oh, I'm back. Oh boy. Oh, what did I miss? What did I miss? Please tell me nobody else came in here when I was gone. That does seem to happen other times, but I try to be quick with that. All right, so I'm signed in for work for tonight. My car is now off, and I also have to pee again. Oh, it's so cold. But the sky is back to blue over there. That's so weird. That's nice, but it's also strange. I hope I'm streaming right now. I can't see the top of the screen, so I'm pretty sure something would pop up or say if I wasn't, but all right, so wait, there's still something on this one. No, I definitely want to try to add that. Oh gosh. Oh. I think that's, well, technically there's still more on here, but I'll save that for next time. One of these things kind of upsets me, and the other one makes me laugh my ass off. So which one should I do first? Oh, it's 4 o'clock on the dot. Well, that's happened a lot throughout this video. 2:30, 3, 3:30, and 4. 4:01. I'm pretty sure it was quite a few times though. Which one should I do first? The one that makes me upset or the one that makes me laugh my ass off? I think I'll probably do the upset one first, so then I can like get upset and then laugh after. To like bring myself back out of the upsetness. So okay. Tired. I wasn't, yeah. The weather report said that it's supposed to be especially windy and cold last night. That's how I realized it wasn't windy though, because when I was saying earlier how I was standing in my driveway after I got back to my apartment and I thought that I saw that shadow in my neighbor's driveway. I was standing in my driveway area looking over there for a few moments, and then I put all my stuff back down and actually went as far as to walk across the street into the other driveway, into the neighbor's driveway, to actually go check and see about the shadow and really make sure that it was actually a shadow and not just like a creeper just standing there still and weird. So I was outside long enough at that point. I didn't realize in the moment, but I think when I later on got back inside, I was like, wait a minute, there was no wind. Because yeah, I was standing there, I was walking a bit. It was a few minutes at least that I was out there and no wind whatsoever that I recall. Normally when it's windy outside like that and cold, I will pick up on the wind immediately, and I'm always trying to gauge what direction it's coming from and if the direction that it's coming from is accurate with the weather report or what the weather report says. So I know where the North Star is. I know the way across the street where my neighbor's place was, that was facing north. They're right under the North Star. And then my place, where I dwell, my windows face west. So that's why the wind's always blowing in there, because the wind usually blows from the west because of the axis of the earth, the way that the earth rotates, apparently, is what I learned recently. So yeah, there was no wind last night, which was interesting, or there didn't seem to be when I was out there. So, but I thought that there was going to be. So I was just really anxious about being able to get my ass out today and come back into work today. Also because although I usually like to try to do 4 10-hour shifts back to back here when I can, I'm definitely not always able to do that. And I was not able to do that last week. And I think part of the reason that I wasn't able to do it last week is because my dancer friend Taz had asked me for a ride back to her apartment because something happened with her car recently to where she needs to get it fixed. And I don't know, I guess she just doesn't like taking an Uber and that kind of thing. I mean, not many people seem to, especially dancers. Most dancers do not seem to like taking Ubers, which I don't blame them. I've never had to take an Uber myself, but back in the day, before I got my car, I did used to have to take taxi cabs, and I never liked that. Oh, which was another thing that I was going to mention earlier. I remember when I first started dancing, you know, before I had my car, I would be walking to and from the club a lot of times. Back then, because I was new, I purposely did mostly day shifts. So, you know, me walking back to and from the club and walking back from the club, it's not like I was walking in the middle of the night. Although I'm pretty sure I probably did that a time or two as well, but usually when I was walking back from the club, it was actually during the day or like the earlier evening, like after a day shift, thankfully. So, but anyways, yeah, like, I mean, I was definitely struggling even more so than I am now, struggling way more back then with a lot of stuff. Not having a car, and sometimes I would take cabs, but yeah, that's no good. So a lot of times I would walk when I could, or I would take the bus. I remember taking, I mean, the very, very first couple times when I really first auditioned, like the very first couple times, at that point, I was still living with my ex. And yeah, I would have to take 2 different buses to get to the club those times. And that was actually those 2 nights, that was actually during the night, those 2 times. So I'm pretty sure when I left, I probably would have taken a cab. I can't remember, obviously I can't remember all the exact details, but I do remember a lot of buses and a lot of walking, a lot of winter walking. I mean, yeah, like thinking about it too, it's like I first ever auditioned in January 20th. So in the middle of winter, pretty much, you know, with a lot of walking and outside, a lot of walking and a lot of winter walking, and not good, but I did it. Yeah, I'm still here in one piece mostly, but yeah, well, so yeah, my dancer friend Taz had asked me for a ride back like last Tuesday, and I had never been to her apartment before, so I was like, well, you know, she said it wasn't too far, and it really wasn't technically too far. It wasn't that far from the club, for most people, but for me, it was too far. But it literally wasn't that far. So, but realizing afterwards that it was too far for me and how much of a freaking baby I am, you know, it does freak me out because it kind of just reminds me to really try. I mean, I am thankful, but to remember to stay thankful for what I do have. I mean, I complain about a lot of stuff here in my videos and on my channel, just as a way to try to vent, mostly. Just to vent and be honest and try to address things and confront them as best I can for now, until I maybe, hopefully, eventually at some point, someday, maybe get around to working on them more or figuring them out a little better. But in the meantime, I just at least try to acknowledge them. To even acknowledge them at all in the first place is difficult enough, you know, for me, but to then also take it a little bit of a step further to acknowledge them out loud on video in public, that kind of thing, on the internet, public, I don't know. So yeah, that's the best I guess I can do with it for now, because a lot of these issues that I have with my current circumstances have been the way that they are for a while, and I just, you know, can't seem to figure them out yet. And it's, yeah, for a while I try to think about it, a lot of these things that I struggle with, but I just I can't fix a lot of stuff right now still, etc. You know, it's just one of those things, I guess. But so yeah, I complain a lot, mostly just as a way to try to vent and acknowledge, confront those things in a verbal, spoken way for now in the meantime. Well, I'm still trying to process a lot of it, I guess. But, you know, am still very thankful for a lot of the better parts of my life now and the progress that I have managed to make so far, despite a lot of crazy stuff, especially. But yeah, giving Taz a ride back to her place last week and realizing that even though the mileage and the distance wasn't technically all that far for the average person or on paper, you know, her distance from the club is further than my distance or my apartment from the club, and just further than I'm used to driving, like, pretty much ever. I mean, all I do is work. If I'm not here at the club dancing, I have so many other things that I try to work on when I can. Just errands. I mean, I do everything by myself. I don't have family around the area, that kind of thing. So, you know, been single for a long time, ever since I've been a dancer too. So but yeah, the stuff that I do, I don't drive very far. I don't travel very far. I go from A to B where I need to go to get my stuff done. So I'll go to the bank and the post office and the grocery stores, which are all in pretty close proximity to where I am and where the club is. So that all works out pretty okay for me for the most part. It's still a struggle. You know, it's still a lot for me to do and it's still exhausting, but at least I don't have to drive very far because I love being able to drive. I'm very extremely thankful for my car and being able to have wheels and get myself around without having to walk anymore or take cabs anymore for now. But cold. I can't wait to get back into onto the next part that's funny. But so I'm very thankful for that. That I'm able, because yeah, I love to drive. I love having, no, I hate to drive. I love having the option, the ability to drive. I'm so thankful to have my car, and I'm so thankful to not have to walk anymore and not have to take cabs anymore for now. But the actual drive, I hate to actually drive. It stresses me out and I'm bad at it and I have a terrible sense of direction, which runs in my family as well. So, sorry, it's so cold. I don't want to put my car back on, but my phone's still charged, so I don't really need to put my car back on to charge my phone yet. So I hate the actual driving, but I love being able to do it because as much as I hate driving, I'd still obviously rather do that than to have to walk or take a cab or have somebody else driving me, because I don't trust anybody else for anything. Oh, look, the tea fell down again. That happens. So, but yeah. So, but at least when I drive, the places, I pretty much just drive to the same few places that I really need to go to get my stuff done, which are in close proximity. So I hate to drive, but at least I don't have to drive very far. But just driving that little bit further out to go bring Taz back to her place last week, it really hit home. For me, it really reminded me and had me realize even more how much I struggle with stuff and how scared I get, you know, just being out on the open road by myself or not, in the middle of the night like that. Like, you know, how tough and scary the dancer lifestyle can be, or even just so many different types of lifestyles in general, just the world in general. So I'm just so thankful to have my car and my apartment and my job here at the club. But my job here at the club is mostly for me to get a workout and just have something to do with myself, some structure, and honestly, just mostly the exercise. So I'm not just rotting in bed. Because as far as financially, most of what I'm pretty much just living off of savings from a different job in the past. So, it is tough because I try to make that savings last as long as I can, which is not easy, especially these days. So I'm scared to spend that money. Like, obviously I have to do it, like, for the things that I really can't get out of, but I any cent that I have to spend or do spend really stresses me out and is dipping into my savings, and I just for me, what I've been able to, like, have for my current lifestyle and situation that I've had for a while now, yes, a lot of parts of it are very difficult. A lot of it is still a huge struggle for me, but I'm very, very thankful to have my car and my apartment and my job here at the club. But my job here at the club is not that much of a job, or like it's not really an income. And then I just think of, so I can't really afford, I couldn't afford another apartment basically, other than the one that I have and that I've had for a while now. And I don't think I could afford a new or a better car either. So it does freak me out because I just kind of can't help but think about how all of these three things are like the trinity, like the triangle that all without one of them, without one of these things being okay and secure in place, the other ones wouldn't really be possible for me. I don't think that I would be able to work at the club here the way that I do without my apartment. Because for me to live further out and have to drive further, it would mess up so many things, so many aspects of me dancing here. And I'm already such a mess. I'm already going on so little sleep most of the time when I'm here. And yeah, I'm already just trying to base most of my schedule around obviously the weather and my periods, but also, I mean, I try to work typically the slowest, kind of crappiest shifts because we pay to work here at this club as dancers. So the later you get here, basically the slower shifts that I work, the less I have to pay to work here. So I pretty much structure a lot of my schedule also around that aspect of things. And then because yeah, I really don't make anything here. It's so slow. And, you know, a lot of these guys here don't seem to like me or think I'm attractive. And I feel the same way about them, honestly. Not all of them. That definitely does not apply to all of them, thank gosh. But, you know, it's tough, okay? For me, especially, like, I struggle. So I don't it's really difficult for me to try to picture myself being able to maintain being able to still come into this club and do what I do here without having the apartment that I have. And my car, of course. But then it's also very difficult for me to try to imagine being able to have my apartment without the club because I would never want to leave it. And I don't know what I would really do with myself other than try to write my book, which I hate doing. It's all upsetting, depressing stuff. Pretty much the same stuff that I talk about on here, but it's a lot worse for me to try to just sit in this cold, dark area by myself on this old, crappy, heavy laptop trying to type it out, which takes so much longer. I love reading. Sometimes I love writing, but Mostly poetry as far as writing. I don't like trying to write a book. That's no good for me. So yeah, anyway, I mean, and I just don't see how I'd be able to afford any other apartment other than the one that I, yeah, have and have been. Which the place that I'm in, my apartment has a lot of issues. There's a lot of things that I definitely don't like about it, but the rent there compared to pretty much every other place that I see around here is on the lower side, you know, for those reasons, probably pretty much primarily is it's kind of a crap hole, but if you could see the way it actually looks inside with what I've done with it with my own style and my aesthetic, it's me, and it breaks my heart to think about me not being there anymore or that place not being the way that it is now with my stuff and my style. Even though right now it's a pigsty, but still, the decoration, the aesthetics overall is, I think, very charming and cozy and just, you know, but I don't know where I would ever go from there other than possibly living out of my car or homeless. I hate to say it. It's so, to say that out loud is just, to even think it, you know. But realistic, I don't know. It's just, and I remember when I did first start dancing all those years ago, I was in a different apartment back then. I had just moved into that other different apartment, which was even more of a crap hole. And the apartment that I have now, I'm by myself. Well, mostly in my unit, I'm by myself anyways. The building has other people, but my actual unit is just me. Thank gosh. But the first apartment that I had when I first moved up to the area where the club is that I dance at, that place had roommates, which were beyond awful. But the rent there was, when I first moved in, this is gonna sound crazy, but when I first moved in there, I'm not making this up, I'm pretty sure the rent was under $500. Because yeah, I mean, it was a 4-unit complex. It was a huge building with many, many, many different apartments, many floors, many apartments, and each apartment unit had 4 separate additional units within that one main unit. So basically at any given time, I had at least 3 roommates, if not more, because out of those 3 other rooms other than mine there, a lot of those other roommates would also have like a friend staying over or a boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever it was. So there were many people in that unit, which was, you know, I did not enjoy that. Sometimes it's a long story with there. I don't want to, but yeah, when I first moved in there, the rent was quite low. Like I'm pretty sure under 500, and it did go up, you know, the couple of years that I was there, like from time to time, as places tend to do. But it was still nothing compared to the place that I have now, and especially compared to most of the other places around here, which granted, there really even aren't, regardless of price, and even just like price aside, which the prices around here are insane. And this area that I live in is crap. It's winter like 8 months out of the year here. It's like, other than this club and a few nice little gyms and grocery stores around here, like, it's a pretty crappy place to be. So I don't know why the rents are so high, but I guess that's just like the trend pretty much all throughout the US for the most part, from what I hear and what I read from other people. But yeah, I can't believe. I mean, the other places around here are ridiculously priced, but not only that, they're so far and few in between. There aren't even really any places around here to begin with. So aside from the fact that I really couldn't realistically afford any other type of apartment, I'd be lucky to even find one to begin with, because there aren't any, at least not that I can ever see or ever find. if when I do try to look, just out of curiosity. I mean, there isn't anything available to begin with, and anything that might possibly be available would probably be very far from the club and too expensive for me, not having an income really. So trying to make my savings last as long as I can. So it's just, but I do remember a part of why I moved into that first apartment that I first had all those years ago when I first started dancing. I moved up to this area where the club is out of my mom's house, which, you know, technically she had told me that I was okay to stay there with her for a while. But you know how that saying, like, actions speak louder than words? She said I was okay to stay there, but her actions kind of showed that she didn't actually really feel that way all that much. And obviously I felt bad. I didn't want to be a mooch, and I did get a couple of regular jobs around there, but same thing with the jobs, at least the ones that were ones that I was able to get, there just aren't many around. There isn't really a whole lot, if anything, available around this area that I've ever been able to see or find. Anyway, so but part of why, you know, I was very torn at the time. A part of me thought that starting out as a dancer, it would be probably a smarter thing for me to utilize that opportunity to continue to stay there and live with my mom, because I didn't know how I was going to do as a dancer. But she also sent her husband away when that was happening for like a month. So it was going to be, and my younger brother had just moved out shortly before that as well. So it went from being her and her husband and myself and my younger brother to all of a sudden my younger brother moved out to his dad's, and her husband she sent away like to Florida. They actually eventually moved to Florida without telling me years after I had already like fully gotten into the dancing, but that's another story that I've already talked about before anyways. But yeah, so it went from being the four of us to all of a sudden it was going to be just her and I alone in that house. And not only that, but she was working from home, and she moved her home office. Originally, her home office had been downstairs, and then right around that same time that her husband was on a vacation for like a month, she sent him away, or I don't know exactly what. And then my younger brother moved out right around that same time. She moved her home office from the downstairs to the bedroom right next to the one that I was in. So it was like me and my fat ass in that bedroom and her working from home trying to support me on the other side of the wall. And I just felt too bad, you know, like, yes, I was like getting odd jobs here and there, but come on, like, it just was a weird vibe, and I felt just guilty and uncomfortable. You know, it was just a weird vibe. So, but part of the reason I dared to take that step and move out of her place like that when I had just started to really be doing the dancing is because that first apartment that I got, the rent was so low. And you know, things just seemed at first like they might actually be a little bit doable at that time. The world was just a different place. Obviously, this was way back in the day, so pre-COVID, before everything really completely went to crap, to put it mildly. Um, I hate to say it, but I feel like a lot of me really sticking with the dancing and being a dancer and just in the adult industry in general, with other aspects of it as well, I feel like it's been quite a bit of a bait and switch kind of situation for me, to where it was made to look like it might actually be something I could do and make a living with possibly and have success with. I mean, yeah, my bills were so low back then. That first apartment where the rent was originally under $500, that was all things included as well. So all the utilities, the internet, everything was included with that. And back then I was still on my mom's phone plan. just, that kind of thing, et cetera, et cetera. I didn't have a car, so I didn't have that expense. Which obviously that sucked as far as trying to get around, but it also was less of an expense that I had because anybody that does drive and have a car knows that they're expensive, um, or would probably know that. So, but yeah, not only that, back then, obviously the economy was different, the club was busier. This was way before they installed the smoke machine that they have here now that I'm extremely allergic to, and that I also base a lot of my shift and my schedule around, my shifts. I actually forgot to mention that aspect of how I work here at the club, my schedule and my shifts and stuff. It's the weather, my periods, who else is working, a few different things, but also it's the smoke machine because oh, it's 4:30 on the dot. That's weird. Because I'm so allergic to that smoke machine, and it really, really affects me. Really causes me some stressful, difficult symptoms that I really am not able to deal with very well as best as I try and have tried to. So, yeah, I will try to avoid that smoke stuff at all costs, literally and figuratively. um, I don't feel able to work when they have that here, and I've tried many times, and I've actually pushed myself to do it many times with very bad results and getting very sick from it. But when I first started dancing here, they did not have that smoke machine, so that was not an issue for me. But it's like so shortly after I really got into the dancing more and more, it's like, shortly after that, they had these DJs and the smoke machine, and the combination of these DJs abusing the smoke machine, knowing that I was allergic to it and had an issue with it to the extent that I did and do still, they were using that situation to get me to pretty much give them all of the money that I had been making here because back then, again, it was a different world. The economy was so much better. So I was making at least something back then, but almost all of it was going to them and then, to paying to work here and just the expenses that come with being a dancer, so, but I also still had a bit of savings from previous odd jobs that I had. So it was kind of this weird gradual thing. I thought at first it might be okay because, yeah, at first there was no smoke machine, and this was before those particular DJs had been an issue or been here. So, it's like I start out, it seems okay at first, maybe, and I really didn't have to, I wanted to think I didn't have to worry about trying to make money here that much because, yeah, I still had my savings from previous jobs. All of my expenses to start out with at that point were so low. And I was like, well, if anything, I could just get another odd job or try to because this area where the club is, compared to where my mom's house had been back then, there's not a lot of jobs around here, but there's definitely at least more than there would be in that smaller town where my mom's old house had been. So I was like, I should be able to make it work one way or another, give my mom a break from having to support my sorry ass, that kind of thing. So, but it didn't last very long. I mean, and yeah, eventually I did get not really an odd job. At one point, I think it started for 2020, I got like a real job kind of, which is a whole other story. But just throughout the years of me trying to be a successful dancer here at this club, yeah, eventually they added the smoke machine and just these different aspects of things that kind of just have really gotten in the way of that. And still to this day, But then when I moved out of that first apartment where my rent had been so low, and because my roommates, I actually really didn't want to move out of that apartment. I did, but I didn't. But the roommates that I had there were so bad that eventually I kind of just was pretty much forced out, or like I just had to. I literally, when I did eventually move out of there into the apartment that I'm in now, it was the middle of the night. I had to leave most of my stuff behind. I was literally in the middle of the street holding all of my belongings, like dropping stuff into the street in the middle of the street. Like, not, I don't know if I was like actually crying, but inside I was. Like, I had to have the taxi cab driver that I was going with at the time, he had to pick me up, and I actually like had to stay at his place for a little while, which was awkward because then he was already like one of the main taxi cab drivers like that was working through here at the club. But especially once I didn't like fully move in with him, but I was basically living there for I think a month or two. And especially once I was like at his place, it seemed like he was coming into the club even more and like watching me dance. Like when I would be like on stage getting naked and stuff, he would be like staring at me. so, so that was an awkward, terrible feeling and just gross, like he was a nice guy. I don't want to say bad things about him. I'm very thankful that he was um kind enough to let me stay with him. I'm pretty sure I called my mom and asked if I could go back and stay at her place for a little bit then, and she said no. I'm pretty sure that happened, but I honestly don't even remember. It was such a crazy, chaotic, stressful time for me that I don't even remember those details, but one detail that I do remember and probably won't ever forget is just being out in the middle of the street with whatever I could carry, having had to just leave so much of my stuff behind and dropping stuff and just him picking me up in his taxi cab in the middle of that street. But so yeah, even then, after I was staying with him for a couple of months, when I moved out of his place and into the apartment that I'm in now and have currently that I'm currently in now and that I've been in since then, I remember for the first many, many years that I was there, my electric bill was the same, pretty much the same range, the same price as it is now. The main difference being back then, I had the heat on in the winter. So, and I didn't have the heat on low. I had the heat on like over 70. Just like a normal kind of person that's not in dire straits that's able to afford that kind of thing. Or thought I was. So this winter, right now, currently, this is my fourth winter, my fourth year without putting the heat on, without like no heat in my apartment, because I just don't want to spend the money. Also, the thermostat is broken, so it's wonky, to say the least, but it's too much of an expense for me, so I just don't put the heat on. This is my fourth year doing that. But for me to not have the heat on whatsoever, my electric bill, the way that it is now with the heat not being on, the price, it's the same as the first handful of years that I was in that apartment that I'm in now, with the heat on over 70 all throughout the winter. So that's such an extreme different, like that just doesn't make sense. But I feel like it's another one of those situations where it was kind of just tampered with to mess with me, and just not very nice, because it's kind of like a bait and switch where it was made to look like I would have maybe been able to afford a regular kind of like decent lifestyle. I didn't know how much heat was supposed to cost. I didn't think, unfortunately, I didn't think to check how much electric was supposed to cost or the exact price for every single wattage of electricity. I just went with it. I mean, it was such a chaotic, crazy time for me to be doing all of that or trying to. I mean, yeah, when I was going into my cab driver's place, I was out in the middle of the street dropping little belongings I was able to carry in my 2 arms. So, and I didn't want to, having that cab driver come into the club and stare at me, I didn't feel comfortable with that situation. And I mean, regardless of that, but especially with that being the case. So I wanted to get out of there as quickly as I could. And it was just all really a rush. You know how they say beggars can't be choosers? And so, yeah, the apartment that I did eventually move into that I'm in now and that I've been in since then, it wasn't like I had the time to really shop around or sit down and think about the things that I was doing. I was just really struggling in the moment on the fly, kind of just trying to find a place as best I could. And there really isn't anything around here. So when I found that place, I was like amazed and felt really lucky that I did find it eventually. And it did take me a while. It took me a lot of working and struggling to get around to try to find it and do the whole process that goes along with that. So, once it was just also exhausting and draining, and I never really thought to